Okay, welcome back. All right, we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people just haven't thought about, or maybe they have now that the movie 13th has come out, Ava DuVernay's fantastic movie. But we're going to talk about slavery. It still exists. It's legal in the sense of punishment and imprisonment. So let me introduce both of you. So Canon Manoj Zacharia, so glad to have you here from Christ Church Cathedral.
Thank you.
And Dr. Adam Clark, thank you so much. As Dr. Marilyn Bates-Mims said, you're the scholar, and you're both the scholars. You're both the scholars. So, let's just jump to it. Tell us about the 13th Amendment and how it still allows slavery. And people know, 1865 passed the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery, but now we're still talking about slavery.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that.
Do you want to start?
Go ahead.
Oh, well, the 13th Amendment, most people are familiar that the 13th Amendment outlaws slavery, but there's an exception clause in it. And it's except people who are convicted of crimes. So what that led to was convict laws that actually strip people of their right to vote, that strip people of public benefits, that strip people of, it creates a caste system that Michelle Alexander calls the new Jim Crow. So
right.
Folks are effectively locked out of society because of these convict laws. So we've come together to try to think about strategies to really rethink how can we talk about imprisonment, mass incarceration in a different way? How can we reimagine what safety looks like, and how can we look for alternatives?
And let me throw out some numbers here. So I understand there are more than 2 million people in prison as we speak. 1 in 3 black men go to jail, but only 1 in 17 white men. And so people might say, well, are the black men committing more crimes? Some of it has to do with the laws. And one example given is powder cocaine, which apparently is used more by white men, has a much shorter sentence and a lesser penalty than crack cocaine, which is more prevalent in the black community. So because of those laws, there are more, when people are arrested for cocaine, there are more black men going to jail for that, because the laws are disparate in that sense.
Yes, there's great unequal enforcement.
And that's just one example.
Yeah, look, the problem of mass incarceration is so great. Michelle Alexander, who wrote The New Jim Crow, she talks about what's supposed to be a system of crime control is effectively a system of racial and social control. So what happens is that black communities are targeted at a far greater degree for certain types of minor crimes and nonviolent crimes, so that there's more black folks who are incarcerated in America than there were at the height of apartheid in South Africa.
Wow.
So it's an incredible disparity, and something needs to happen. The church is coming together to try to do something about that.
Right, okay. So that brings up the church. How did Christ Church Cathedral get involved? And Christ Church Cathedral, I should say, does a lot of social justice work.
Sure. So Christ Church Cathedral and the Bishop's Office of the Diocese of Southern Ohio commissioned the Organization on Procedural Justice, which Dr. Marilyn Bates-Mims has led and continues to lead so effectively.
Right. And
the impetus for all of this was Marilyn's very, very strong work on racial profiling, which was commissioned by Bishop Thomas Breidenthal, the Episcopal Bishop for the Diocese of Southern Ohio. And in that work, what Marilyn really focused on was the issue of who benefits from unpaid labor. And that very question spiraled into further research. And it was a coming together, a synthesis of great thought. Right. And Michelle Alexander's work simultaneously got caught on fire. And this is how our focus really turned to the anti-mass incarceration effort.
That's wonderful. And I see you have in your hand Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. And Brian does a lot of, he spoke at the YWCA Racial Justice Breakfast a year ago. He was fantastic. But tell us about Brian and how all this comes into play.
Well, so for the church, there is a very, very theological reason why we are interested in this issue. Because we're called as Christians, the Episcopal Church is a Christian church. We affirm the tenets of faith. And one tenet that we make in our baptismal covenant is to affirm the dignity of each and every human being. And our work, which Brian Stevenson talks about, is about affirming the inherent dignity of each and every human being. And this is why we, as people of mercy, as people who have received the mercy of God in our lives, want to spread that mercy to all that we impact and affect.
I understand. Okay, so let me just take another step. A few weeks ago, there was a roundtable discussion that Dr. Marilyn Bates Mem organized, and there's a transcript from it. So tell us briefly about that and what's going to happen next. Oh, and here's a photo of it. I see Dr. Dillard there, and I know Rabbi Abby Ingber was there. So tell us all about, who was there and what was the purpose, and then what happened.
Well, I'll get into who was there, and then Adam, who was an actual participant of the roundtable, can get into the substance of it.
Okay.
So it was an interreligious and ecumenical effort. So we have Dr. Amina Darwish, who is the Muslim chaplain at UC, Rabbi Abby Ingber. We had legal scholars who Skyped in and participated in this scholarly roundtable to focus on various dimensions of the anti-mass incarceration movement, specifically focusing on the 13th Amendment.
Okay.
So we had the theological, the juridical, the sociological, the historical, all coming together for this wonderful roundtable, whose transcript we are going to make available very soon.
Oh, that's going to be wonderful.
Yeah,
Wonderful to read.
my own contribution focused on the theological, and I, raised the question: 2,000 years ago, Jesus was a poor person from the wrong side of the tracks who got incarcerated and given the death penalty. Wow. So why do so many people who bear his name are willing to do that for Black folks and people of color today?
Okay.
That is a real problem.
All
So
right.
to really think about that the church needs to mobilize if they worship an executed God, we need to think about the very foundations of empire that lead to mass incarcerations of people in unjust ways.
Okay. You know what? This is such an interesting discussion, and we're going to have to bring both of you back, and especially when the transcript is ready, because I understand it's just getting it's about finished now, right?
Right.
But ready for publication. Right. So we're going to bring you back to talk more about this and about next steps, because I understand there's going to be kind of a mass movement, a grassroots movement, and also a legal team is coming together. So is there a number people should call? Should they call Christ Church Cathedral?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in the mobilization effort.
Right.
So we began with the conscientization effort.
Okay.
Now we're beginning to mobilize.
Okay,
You can call 513-621-1817.
Thank you, 621. I'm sorry, Canon Manoj, we just had to move along. Okay, 513-621-1817 to get more information about next steps, that legal team that's coming together, in the transcript. Thank you both, Dr. Clark, Reverend Zacharia. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stick with us. We'll be back in a moment to talk about immigration.
All right.